my first time here, and I'm actually saying that I'm very surprised. I didn't think I'm ever going to come across something like this.
It's very inspiring. It's good to hear about the realities of what's actually happening, what life is like as an entrepreneur.
Welcome, man.
Thank you.
How was that intro? Is that good, right?
The best one I've ever had. I'm going to bring you everywhere.
No way. All right, okay. I've got so much stuff going on here. Wait, let's just, okay, you can tweet us. There we go. And you can do your thing there. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Thanks for taking time out to come and chat to us about your startup. So, we always start off the startup grind about where you're born and that. We're going to get to that stage. But firstly, I would like a 60-second pitch, which I'm pretty sure you polished. You going as a startup, you have to get this polished. Your 60-second pitch of what is FitKey?
FitKey is a new type of gym membership that gives you access to the best independent gyms and studios in Cape Town, Joburg, and Pretoria. Things like yoga, CrossFit, pole dancing, dance, a whole bunch of other different things, rock climbing. There's some really interesting different kinds of classes and gyms on there. And it's a month-to-month membership, so you're not locked in. And our mission is to help you find the fitness life that makes you happy in your body. So FitKey is about unlocking your fitness, figuring out what you really enjoy. If you find something that you really love, great. It's month to month. You can cancel and go do that.
Here we go. You've got to take a...
Awesome.
The camera's ready, right? There we go, guys. Rocking an American style. Okay,
Awesome.
So tell me where were you born? I mean, I know you come from America, but
Yeah,
I just remember we are in South Africa, so we have no idea where any place is. So you have to explain it.
So I grew up in Ohio, Canton, Ohio, which is the home of the American Pro Football Hall of Fame, which probably doesn't mean anything to any of you. So if you've been to New York, and if you've been to LA, you probably saw it as you flew over. We call it a flyover state. It's kind of in the middle. It's usually a swing state, which means that whoever we vote for the presidential election ends up winning.
I've been doing a lot of House of Cards lately, so
yeah. So okay, cool. They had the whole thing about Ohio in it. Yeah, nice. And then most of my I grew up there in a very entrepreneurial family. My great-grandfather, when he moved over from Germany, started a restaurant that's still in the family in 1914. Wow. So I kind of grew up in that. My dad did real estate and had an antique mall, and I had my own business like mowing lawns and shoveling snow. You guys have never done that. No. Raking leaves. You might have done that. And I had lemonade stands, and I made like little bracelets and all sorts of different things just to make some money. And it was mostly actually so I could travel.
Did you travel a lot when you were young?
Well, the first trip I did was with my middle school class, my French class, to France.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a real life learning right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what brought you to South Africa?
A 2-week vacation.
A 2-week vacation. That's a long 2 weeks.
3.5 years later.
Wow. Okay. And on those 2 weeks you were here, did you fall in love with the place and you just like, I'm staying here, or was there a lot more to it?
So I came to Cape Town, and it immediately felt like home. I went to college in upstate New York and in Ithaca at Cornell. And it's on the water, it's wine country, there's a really great food scene, kind of hippie, but also culture. And so I'd been living in New York City for like 8 or 9 years, and came to Cape Town, was like, geez, why would I ever go back to New York? Like, I miss space and nature in the city and all these great things, so yeah.
That was it.
Stayed,
fell in love.
Yeah.
Did you know what you wanted to do? Did you get a job here, or did you just decide that's it, I'm moving? Or how did that decision come?
I kind of decided, okay, that's it, I'm moving. I went back to New York for 2 weeks to grab my things, and then came back. I was helping out a startup founded in Cape Town that wanted to move to the U.S. When I came, I was kind of trying to meet the team, see what was going on. I was like, there's not actually anything we can take to the U.S. yet, but I would love to stick around in Cape Town and help you out. So I did that for a year, helped them build up the team so it kind of ran without me, and I didn't kind of work myself out of a job. So then, being a white foreigner, it's not like simple to find a job in South Africa, or probably particularly in Cape Town. So I was just kind of like, well, what am I going to do to stay here? I'll start something. Great.
So did you have an idea of what you wanted to start, or were you like, all right, time to sit down, have a few beers, figure this out?
I threw around 3 or 4 different things, and I didn't realize it until thinking back afterwards. But this was sort of inspired by when I first got here. I think it said in my bio, like, I'm a former fat kid turned fitness enthusiast, which is true. And it really kind of happened in high school when I started playing American football and swimming and water polo. I had this amazing transformation that started with my body, but it was a lot more than that, right? It was about my confidence and my personality and being outgoing and believing and standing up for myself. And ultimately with FitKey, we want to give that to more people and help other people find that in their lives. So when I first got here, I went on Google and tried to look up, gyms and the different things to do. And I found a lot of Virgin Active. I didn't really find much of anything else. So over time, just because who I am, what I was interested in, I started discovering all these other really interesting things. And, well, then I've got this contract I'm locked into. And then I had a back injury, so I started doing Pilates, and I was doing stand-up paddleboarding and a bunch of different things, and it just got really expensive. So as soon as I could, I got out of my Virgin Active membership. But it was kind of sitting in the back of my head, like, there's got to be an easier way to find these independent gyms and studios and activities, but also you shouldn't be locked into these crazy contracts.
That was it. So you died. But did this model exist overseas, or?
So I did see something in America called ClassPass that was doing quite well, and it had just hit that, like, they talk about the hockey stick, where something is growing kind of linearly, and then it takes this like logarithmic takeoff. So it was doing quite well, and there was something founded in Malaysia called KFit that was also kind of in that same trajectory, and I was like, okay, cool. I did some research on Airbnb and Uber, and I was like, okay, it takes them about 3 years from this point of raising their Series B to get to South Africa. I've got 3 years to figure this out. Let's run.
So, okay, how long have you been running for FitKey for?
2 years.
2 years, and
Yeah.
so you think you'll be hitting your hockey stick in the next year or two?
I hope so. Yeah.
How's it going with FitKey?
Okay, so I learned some hard lessons. It grew a lot slower at first than we thought. Well, actually, at first we were hitting all of our targets, and so we thought we were just going to keep hitting all of our targets. No, learned that one the hard way. And then we just really struggled to kind of hit that hockey stick, and we hit a ceiling very quickly with acquiring customers through online marketing. And it went from, getting leads for like 10, 15 rand a piece to paying 1,000. And, and it kind of like, it switched very quickly once we got our spend up to a certain level. And that, that wasn't sustainable. It wasn't profitable.
And did you have money coming? Did you have money coming in from the States and that, or what funded this idea?
Yeah. So my co-founder at the time, we both put some of our own money in. Our families put a little bit in as well, and then some friends and family, I guess, both in the States and locally, put some money in as well. A couple of angels in South Africa got involved.
Okay.
And yeah, it was kind of we never had we tried to get like this, somebody give us 5 million rand or whatever, but that never happened.
Welcome to South Africa.
Yeah. So we had these little drifts and drabs, and enough to keep it going and figure things out. I mentioned earlier that we were hitting over our targets. We kept growing, and it was great. It was awesome. Everything's working the way we said it was going to. This is going to happen forever. And so we had a couple of these conversations going for these bigger investments, and a couple of even like verbal confirmations. Yeah, we're going to do it. And so we started hiring. Yeah.
Bad idea.
Yeah. And so that was about the time we stopped hitting our targets. And all the investment fell through. We were like, but we're not hitting our targets because we don't have the money to spend on advertising and do these things that we said we were going to do. And so you get locked in this like gridlock of conversation where you're like, well, you're not hitting them. I don't care that you don't have money to spend, the money to advertise. And we hit this point where it was like, I had to start making some hard decisions and lay a couple people off. And it actually came down to me and my partner. It just couldn't sustain both of us. And so we decided that it made sense for him to step back and to find another job. He still had, roughly half of his equity was vested. So he still has some ownership and interest and participates, but not on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Let's talk about Josh is your
Yeah.
co-founder. Talk about the interactions between having a co-founder and having a startup. What is it like? I mean, okay, it's cool, it starts off great, you're hitting your targets, but then things really happen. What were the challenges that you found that you've had to face?
Yeah. So this should have been more obvious to us than it was in hindsight, of course, right? That's always the case. But in South Africa, what people do in terms of working out and fitness is so driven by what the medical aids subsidize, give you points for, and when somebody's thinking about, well, I've got a Virgin Active membership that's almost free, or it's like 120 Rand. Do I really want to pay 500 or 600 Rand or whatever it was at the time for a FitKey membership as well? And so, well, not only that, they're locked into this crazy, ridiculous contract with the other place. So even if they would prefer the FitKey, they're like, no, I've got two, I can't afford both. We give you the flexibility, FitKey drops off. So from that sense, it was a lot slower to take off than we thought. And we've been talking with all of the medical aids since, actually before we had an app. I was going into some of these guys this is what we're building, flipping through some pictures and trying to sell them on it. And they've all been really interested, but really slow to move. And so, we scaled back, kind of got in touch with reality, and what was actually happening, and started using a team that was actually, a bit more sustainable for where we were. Yeah.
Let's see some questions over here. Do you think big brand national chain gyms are going to become less popular over time as people look for more individual customized experiences?
Definitely. Yeah, no question about it. And it's already started to happen for sure in the US, definitely in New York. And I think it's happening in Europe. And it's actually happening here, surprisingly. So something like 800,000 members at Virgin Active, but there are 150,000 South Africans going to independent gyms, at least. Obviously, we don't have as good numbers from that because they're these small independent guys. And that's despite huge incentives to go to Virgin Active. And so it's something that people want, and it's something I see so often where people swipe their card, walk out, and then they go to Pilates class somewhere else. They're just not getting their points, right? So they're becoming more and more popular. We see new gyms and studios coming up all the time, and we're there to help them improve their businesses, get more traction, be known, be found. And so, what we're really trying to do is help them connect with the medical aids, and I think we just got sign off on a pilot program with one of them, so that's exciting.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
How many gyms do you have in Pretoria that you guys are actually on your system?
We need more work here. We've got 20.
20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you guys have gyms or studios, independent, yoga, boxing, CrossFit, whatever, let me know.
And in Cape Town?
It's like 105, I think, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
And Joburg's 130-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Do you find that people actually make use of the work? It's a monthly thing, so they sign up and they make use of the subscription. They go to gym. Do you find they do that, or do they just carry on paying you and then never actually go to the classes?
We find both. Definitely. Most people, when they first sign up, obviously use it a lot. Some people kind of drop off. We offer a couple of different things. There's FitKey, which is $645 a month. You can go to as many classes as you want, but a maximum of 3 per studio per month. and what that does is it helps the studios feel protected, that we're not stealing all of their weekly customers, for instance. And the idea is people get to try things out, they get to mix it up, they get to have variety in their routine. But we actually pay the studios a pre-negotiated reduced rate for every booking, which kind of varies depending on the studios and the popularity. And so if you could go one place every day, we'd lose a lot of money on you. So there's this kind of balance and tension, and kind of around that now, we're working on something. We're launching with WeChat in August, where you're going to be able to book. Well, there's two things that'll happen. You'll be able to just make a booking at any independent gym or studio, find their schedule, pay the regular rate, and go. But then if you are a member of FitKey and on a subscription, you'll be able to buy a fourth, buy a fifth, to kind of go beyond that.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, talking about the medical aids, you say it's very slow and stuff and putting things together, but what are the models and how does it actually work with you and the medical aid? What is their incentive? What's the incentive for you?
Yeah, so the incentive for the medical aid is to get those other 150,000 plus people that are going to these independent gyms. Vitality started this. I guess it was for two things. Marketing is actually the primary thing, and then secondary, reducing risk. So both are really useful. As far as they're not getting super great data from Virgin Active, like you have the swipe issue. And because we are a mobile app, we can help them get more information about someone and actually the habits and what they're actually doing. So that's one of the big incentives. The other is just, to capture more of the data. There are a lot of cities that, small towns that don't have a Virgin Active or a Planet Fitness, but they do have a gym. And shouldn't they get discounts? Shouldn't they get rewards? Shouldn't they get points? So there was actually a big lawsuit from the independent gym owners of South Africa against Vitality for this reason exactly, anti-monopolistic practices, or yeah.
And what's happening? Is that ongoing, or did it conclude?
It's ongoing. Yeah.
Okay. So having subscriptions. Now you've been running a business now for 2 years with subscriptions in South Africa. Now subscriptions is very new to South Africa.
Yeah.
Plug to Payfast, they now do subscription billing.
Yeah, when we started, they didn't. We would have loved to use them. They do now.
And
you guys are lucky.
Did you find a resistance to? Did you find a resistance to them people signing up for that subscription every month?
Yeah. This was another. I don't know if it was a dumb surprise where we should have known better. So, being American, we thought everyone would be really happy to put their credit cards in online for a subscription. Not the case. So there was obviously this trust factor. Trust factor was one. Two, we had there's some cards that just don't work online here. I think Capitec debit cards maybe we've had issues. I can't. And it's changed over time. And so we probably went through 3 or 4 different payment providers trying to be able to accept as many different things as we possibly could. Then we added direct debit as well.
Did you have a lot of take up with the direct debit?
A decent amount. We actually still haven't automated it, and it's actually getting to the point now where it's time to, because the way that it works right now is you go online, you enter your credit card. If you're having trouble or errors, something pops up. Hey, would you like a direct debit? But then you have to fill out this paper form and sign it, and it's a super archaic kind of thing. But we don't have a ton of money and a ton of resources, and so it's sort of like, well, will people use this? Is it worth actually building technology? And we're just kind of, I think actually maybe right now we're just getting to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, we should automate this.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there some questions in the audience? Any questions? There we go. I'll just give you a microphone.
I guess it sounds like the delivery is sort of outsourced to these gyms or providers. So my question is, since you don't have control over delivery, how do you retain customers on your subscription?
Yes, that's a really good question. So for one, we vet the studios and gyms before we put them on FitKey. We actually go, we experience a class or experience the gym. You know, would I want to come back here? Would I want my sister to come here? Would I want my grandma to come here? You know, and most of them actually, you know, most of the studios and gyms that we test out actually do give a really great experience. And so that's the first thing. We try to talk with them a lot. It's getting harder and harder to keep, you know, tight relationships on an individual level with them. Now we've got 250 and we've got 3.5 people on our team. So we created a lot of different technology to kind of interact and automate some of these different things. And probably the thing that we fail on most often, and we've made some changes recently, is keeping all of the schedules updated, right? So 250 independent gyms or studios, and I can't tell you how often an instructor is sick, doesn't pitch. You know, they change their schedules for the holiday or for, you know, for winter versus summer, and they don't always remember to tell us or, you know, tell all their customers. And so we had to figure out kind of the hard way, you know, how to circumvent that and preempt it. So that's probably been the biggest thing. But ultimately, we're sending everyone leads, right? We're paying them to send them leads, which is like, once they realize that, it's the coolest thing ever, right? Wait, so you want to give me a lead, you're paying me for it, and all I have to do is deliver great service and then maybe get them to sign up? Great. So, you know, your average independent gym studio owner isn't like scamming people, right? They're doing this because they love it. A lot of them have left, you know, jobs in accounting or at an ad agency or whatever it is because they really love yoga. They really love CrossFit. And, you know, but they don't have the budget. They don't always have the know-how or the marketing skills to, you know, have a campaign to keep everything online, optimize their SEO, all these different things. And so we, you know, that's kind of our role, is to bring that for them. So, but kind of on a tangent here, getting back to your question of, you know, ensuring service delivery, we have had studios that we've had to kick off, ultimately. And we kind of approach it from, you know, we trust people first and give them a chance, give them feedback on what's going on. And if problems persist over time, then it's just not going to, you know, this isn't for you if you guys kind of develop your process a bit more. And it's mostly be on top of your schedules, right? And be nice to our students that we send, which is, I mean, 99% of them are great. So, yeah.
If you don't mind, what kind of marketing is working for you right now?
Yeah. We've had a lot of success doing co-promotions with other brands that are talking to a similar customer, and we have referrals. So if you're a FitKey member and you refer a friend who actually signs up and pays, they get 100 Rand off of their first month, and you get 100 Rand off of your next month. And that, when we added that to the system, that was probably the biggest growth driver that we've had. So once you've had a great experience, and it's the same as Uber and Airbnb, you know, where if you refer someone with an Uber, you get a ride free. If you get someone on an Airbnb, then, you know, you get $25 or something like that. So it motivates a lot of people.
It emphasizes the importance of the first thing, the quality control. And
yeah, if you're not having a great experience, you're not going to tell your friends to do it, for sure. And so, I mean, ultimately, if people aren't having a great experience through this, it looks bad on us and the studios. And ultimately, we're all here to give people great experiences. So in terms of that, like, we're pretty aligned, which helps. Yeah.
Thanks, Evan. Appreciate that.
Uh-huh. You're not a developer. Are you a developer?
No.
And Josh?
Also no. So
you're both non-technical developers that have built an app. How was that journey?
Yeah. So let's see. How was that journey? Right away, I mean, I kind of been in the startup scene for the year before I got this started, and I've been talking to a friend who was working with a software development company where they were developing his app for a combination of cash and equity. And so I found at the time there were 3 different software development houses in Cape Town like this, and talked to all of them and found the guys who were a really good fit from our side and from their side. Because it's like we were doing half cash, half equity for their invoices, right?
Okay,
so,
explain what does that actually mean? Half
Sure.
cash, half-
So, gosh, I think we contracted them for 3 months. I can't remember exactly what they charged us per week or per person or whatever it was. But say their normal rate is 8,000 Rand a day. So we're paying them 4,000 Rand in cash, and then the other 4,000 Rand is, so we did something kind of very new. We were the first ones to do it in South Africa. We used an investment doc called a SAFE, which is a simple agreement for future equity. So if you're at all familiar with, kind of financing companies, like the most vanilla way of doing it, or the most traditional way of doing it, is someone gives you money, and if it's either a loan or it's equity, right? And so in a really early stage startup, you have no revenue, you've got an idea, you kind of know what you want to do. It's like, what is this worth? I have no idea. And so you can really end up losing too much of the company if you're just selling equity, right? Especially if people want to do a revenue multiple or something like that. So then people started doing something called a convertible note. And a convertible note it's essentially a loan that at some point in the future converts to equity based on certain rules. And so what gets complicated about that is now you've got this loan. When somebody gave you money, and it was really supposed to be money to use for your startup and to get an ownership of that, and it wasn't really, like, the intention wasn't really that you pay this back, and now you've got to negotiate like loan terms and rates and when do you repay it, and it can make negotiations rather complicated. And so it was Y Combinator, one of the first accelerators in San Francisco, started this thing called a SAFE, where it's essentially a convertible note but without the debt element. So with the developers, we did a SAFE that was capped at 6 million Rand. What that means is when we do value our company and start selling equity at a set price, that if we value the company at 5 million Rand, their money, that 4,000 Rand from their SAFE buys at that same rate of 5 million Rand. But if we value the company at 8 million Rand, since they've got a cap at 6, they only pay the rate that you would if it were only 6. So it kind of protects them from being in early. And so, we partnered with these guys called Fireworks Innovation, the same guys who built SnapScan. And now that whole team has kind of become OfferZen now. It was a really great experience.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Good intel. Thank you.
Okay.
So OfferZen, what OfferZen does is if you're looking for a job, you go to OfferZen, but all the contracts, including what you're getting paid, everything is all upfront.
Yeah.
That's their model.
So we've used it to recruit as well. Right now it's just for developers. They want to do more things in the future, but it's basically, as an employer, I go in there, I see a list of candidates and see what kind of salary ranges they're looking for, and then I can click on them and see these are the offers they've gotten. I really want this guy. I'm going to beat all the offers, it's a cool system. They built our MVP, our minimum viable product, and it took about 2 months before we started having people test it. And it started off, it was just like, we had something working. Hey friends, sign up to this. Like, you don't even have to put your credit card information. Start booking classes and go to them.
Did MVP have the basics, or did it have only like a portion of, or did it have like everything in it, or?
It didn't have like a tenth of what we wanted in it. It was like
sign up and.
It was like, you can now book a class. Awesome. Let's get everyone on it. Get them all booking classes. We're gonna pay for you to go to classes. Just go. Show up to the studios. See if they look at you funny. See if they welcome you there. See what happens. And that was the beginning of this great experiment. Will people do it? Will the studios actually accept them? Does the information flow work in any sort of way? Can we keep these up to date? And so we started doing that, and that worked. And then it was like, okay, well, now we've gone through like 4 failures of different payment gateways. I think we've got something that works now. And then we just told all of our friends, here, sign up for $5,000 and then go to a couple classes just to see, does this work? And a lot of it didn't work.
So what your idea was initially is completely changed to what it is today.
A lot of things have changed.
The features.
But yeah, the features, the specifics, right? You learn as you go, and you make adjustments, and you figure it out. A lot of things you think you know, you're completely wrong. And so the idea is, as quickly as possible, start testing things. There's a ton of unknowns. And so start making knowns. Even if that known is, this doesn't work, awesome. You can move on. You can go do something else. You can fail a lot, in dozens of times in a day.
Does anybody have any other questions on the crowd? Here we go.
So yeah, the MVP took about 2 months, and then we had another month or 2 of kind of like build up, right? So, we had the product that we could get bookings on, and so the first week we signed up 3 or 4 studios who we've been showing. I've been visiting all these different studios. I had some that I already had a relationship with from going to. I'm showing them pictures on my phone, just like I was with, Discovery. This is what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. And they're like, I don't understand. Like, don't worry, you're going to love it. And so, we just got a couple of them on as quickly as we could. And then, then we got the payments working. And then it was just a race to get as many gym and studios on as we could, because that was our supply, right? If we didn't have that, we didn't have anything to sell.
So did you go door knocking one by one on every single gym?
Yeah. And then we scraped databases from the internet, trying to find everything that we could, sending out emails, phone calls. But at the beginning, we really had to show up and shake hands. Actually, what I found the best thing to do, figure out who the owner was, figure out which class they were teaching, and go take that one. They would talk to you afterwards.
The real hustler in the house. Put those glasses on.
At one time, I was taking 3 or 4 classes a day. I was broken. Destroyed.
All those arms. Okay, anybody else? Any other questions? Here we go. Actually, just tell us who you are. Please do it.
Hi, I'm Audrey Vroge. I run the SA Innovation Summit, so I've already invited him to come and pitch.
I'm excited.
What is the Innovation Summit? Tell the crowd.
Oh, okay. So we're going to Cape Town, joining forces with Startup Grind there in Cape Town, and we bring founders, investors, and corporates together in this massive event, trying to accelerate businesses going forward. And we also the World Cup leg. If you win at the summit, you go to Silicon Valley and you might win against 13 other countries $1 million. So that's the cycle and the connection that we try and make. But I want to say that I think you're very, very courageous. Taking on Virgin Active, it's amazing. Landing in Cape Town, deciding to just start your life like that. That's what I love about entrepreneurs. They are just mad. And so I want to ask you, I think every entrepreneur starts with this vague idea, then they get formed, they get clients, but it's a battle and it's 2 years down the line.
Sure.
So I want to ask you about that level of courage. At how far do you feel at this point in 2 years? How long will you, I know it's very personal,
Sure.
but give it a stab, so that other people can relate to that. And maybe it's a complete lie, it's okay, because you might fail for the next 2 years and decide you still hang on,
Yeah.
or you might quit. So just give us an idea, how do you feel, at what point do you give it up, or how long and how much are you willing to bleed at this stage for this business?
That's hard. That is a tough question. How much am I willing to bleed? I feel like I've bled a lot. And I'm sort of like a little fed up with bleeding, to be honest. But at the same time, like, the last 3 or 4 months, our growth has been great. And like I said, we just got the sign off on the pilot. So it's just like, it's a roller coaster. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but it really is. And the same day, you will have what feels like the biggest success, and you also feel like, oh shit, I have to shut down the company tomorrow, right? And it really changes that fast. And so, I don't know, you said brave or courageous. I don't feel brave or courageous. There are days where I don't feel like getting out of bed, or, like, this is all futile. I don't know what I'm doing. I have plenty if I don't know what I'm doing. But, you take those moments and you don't do anything crazy. You figure out some admin to do, or something, not super, nothing, irreversible. And you ride it out because things change. And, I guess I kind of talked about, when I first came for this other company, I built myself out of a job. And I always try to make that my goal with everything that I do, right? So same now with FitKey is, we've got this piece working. I want to lock that in. I want to make it keep working, and I want to make it work without me so that I can focus working on something else. And sometimes it takes a while to reap all the benefits of that. And so that's part of why it's really important not to give in. And I've talked to a lot of other entrepreneurs in Cape Town about this, because we're all going through the exact same thing, no matter how successful it may appear we are, how often we're on TV or whatever, or on the radio. Most of the time, it actually makes almost no difference. Like, I went on CNBC, I did, 5FM, and we're like, oh, let's wait for the subscriptions to roll in. Cricket. Okay. But that whole time you're building awareness, people are getting to know about you. Particularly with this subscription business and a gym subscription, it's not a decision people are making every day, right? And so that was one of the kind of hard realizations is, we kind of knew this going in. It's something you think about maybe once a year, if that. Most people, I don't know, some people maybe a little more often. I guess we're designed for the people who want to think about it a little more often. So it's, it's survival and being around and keeping your expenses as low as possible. And if you have to, getting some consulting work, even getting a full-time job for a while, whatever you have to do to keep it going. I talk about what time do you quit, right? If it's not working. When you're out of money, as yourself, right? Obviously you can't we can go into some debt, it happens. But, at a certain point, you might just have to get a job, and it might not be sustainable. And it's, I tell anyone who's starting their own thing and ready to quit their job, don't do that until you've got 6 months to a year's worth of savings, where you will be comfortable earning nothing, right? Or build it up on the side where you can get to this point where you say, yes, I do have enough money coming in from this to live. And if you can start it up that way, even better. Yeah.
Any other questions? There we go.
Hi, I'm Joel, and I work for Junk Mail. And what we do is, I just wanted to come back to the lead generation part, generators that we do. We charge people to give them leads.
Yeah.
And obviously, leads alone sometimes would not usually work by just normal advertising. So we have social campaigns that we offer as well.
Yep.
And when you come back and say that you actually pay them to, give them leads, how long does it usually take for you to actually get a turnover and a profit made at all, if?
That's a good question. So, we are relying on sort of averages for our business right now, because some people we do lose money on, right? Because they do use it almost every day. Fortunately, the majority of us, regardless of whether we think we're going to, don't go to gym every day. And we're a lot different than a normal gym business where the cost of having you go every day, is the cost of the hot water you use, right? We've got real costs for that. So there is a risk with that. Most customers, once they're around 2-3 months, it becomes profitable. Some never, some immediately. It's a huge range. And so, I mean, that's also why we're still doing this model, but we're shifting things a bit to make like every action default profitable. And actually what I really want to get is a situation where I'm encouraging people to go and giving them reminders to go every day. And the more they go, the more money I make, the better experience they have, and the more money the studios make. And so that's kind of where we're headed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Any more questions? Okay. There we go. Take one from the crowd here. What's your advice to anyone starting something that looks crazy or impossible?
Chunk it down as little as possible, right? Like, big ideas.
Smallest thing you can do.
Big ideas. Well, not even necessarily the smallest thing you can do. But what's the smallest thing you can prove in a way, right? Like I said before, there's all these unknowns, and you need to just like start to figure out one thing. And so, what is that one little itty bitty piece of what you're trying to do? And that starts to prove the concept. And even if it's completely manual and it's you on the back end, like calling people up and pretending like it's automated, right? Oh, you have this great system. Yeah, it's me on the phone, sending emails, confirming things. Do that for a month. You'll learn a lot more that way, and you'll know what in the world you actually have to build. So yeah, if you got something really crazy, really impossible, figure out what's just the tiniest piece of something that you can prove this works. And you know what that awesome, really cool, fantastic, crazy, impossible end goal looks like, but you don't know how you're going to get there. You never do. And so if you're moving generally in the direction and you're able to keep banking these wins, you eventually will get there, or maybe decide there's not exactly where you want to go, or maybe you want to go here, and that's fine. But you're getting some traction, you're getting moving, you're proving things, and like, so you talked about like how do two non-coders get started in this kind of thing? It was like, well, we started proving things, right? We were able to convince these developers to actually develop stuff for us. We had studios that wanted this service. We talked to 50 people who go to gyms, and 40 of them wanted to sign up. And so it was kind of like, this is the evidence we have. This is what we've proved so far. What's the next tiny little step we can take? Start proving the next thing, and just ratchet it up from there.
Cool. One last question. Anybody? Going, gone. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Evan, for coming through, telling us. This is really interesting. I hope you guys got some insight and inspiration.